Clap your hands up.
Glenn Black, jag håller med dig. Är vi rusade över station och power?
En kul vill ha måste springa. Trump, 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 Trump.
You say that I can't trust you. I don't know. Every time I'm near you, I lose control.
And welcome to the Outsiders Podcast. Noah Broniger here with a very special guest host, Dalton Lohman. We've got a special edition of the Outsiders Podcast today with a Week 1 wrap-up, Week 2 preview, and we've got a special guest for this special show, Jamie Dukes, NFL Network analyst. Great to have him on.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what he has to think about this first week. I know that I'm overwhelmed by all of these games, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, we got Terrell Pryor putting on a show against the Colts. Couldn't get the win, but had over 100 yards passing and 100 yards rushing. What did you think of Terrell Pryor's performance?
Oh, I just can't wait to see until next week and see if he can sustain that. He's a walking highlight reel as long as that offensive line doesn't get him killed.
Well, he's got the Jacksonville Jaguars next week, so things are looking up for Terrell Pryor.
Hey, maybe they'll win 28-2.
I don't know if they could repeat the Chiefs' performance. That was pretty impressive out there. But and the Jaguars look to start Chad Henne after the Chiefs roughed up Blaine Gabbert. And Chad Henne, I believe, is a better quarterback. So maybe the Raiders will have a little bit tougher game on their hands. Going over to the AFC East, we've got Geno Smith and the Jets beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Darrelle Revis. That's got to sting for Darrelle, being his former team. People thought the Jets didn't have a competent quarterback on their roster. Think again. Geno may have had a tough preseason, but he comes out in the regular season and gets the win.
Oh, that was gutsy. But the end of that game, you can't credit it all to Geno. He was driving them down the field, and he's right there for that. But Levante David gift-wrapped that game for them. And if that play hadn't happened, I would see them as 0-1 right now. So I'm not sold on the Jets. I still think that they very well could be at the bottom end of the league.
Yeah, I still like Geno, though. I mean, yes, Levante David made a stupid mistake. But because of Geno's athleticism, he was able to get out of the pocket and make that play happen. Whether the penalty should have been called or not, that's kind of questionable as well. Levante David just a tiny push. Maybe Geno sold it a little bit. But Geno looked impressive. Had one pick, one fumble, but he did have a touchdown, 100 yards, and he won the game. That's all that matters in this league. Let's take a look at E.J. Manuel against the New England Patriots. Almost got that win, but Tom Terrific does it again, leads his team down, gets the field goal at the end of the game for the victory.
Oh, you can't beat a game like that. That was a right down to the wire, and E.J. Manuel looked really efficient. The Patriots did what Bill Belichick always does. He shut down their best player. C.J. Spiller just had a very pedestrian game, and the Patriots forced E.J. Manuel to beat them with his arm if he was going to, and he darn near did it in his first game in the league.
Both those rookies look impressive. Glad the Chiefs don't have them, though, because we got Alex Smith. Moving on to the Steelers and Titans game. The Titans come out and they beat the Steelers. I did not think that was going to happen, even though I predicted that before the season that the Steelers would not make the playoffs. This is a game I thought they could win.
I see rough times ahead for the Steelers right now. I don't see them competing in that AFC North, not with the rising Bengals. I think this is the year that the Bengals finally walk away with that AFC North title.
Oh, definitely. I agree with you there. Going over to the NFC, we have the Arizona Cardinals at the St. Louis Rams. I thought the St. Louis Rams would crush them. I didn't like the Cardinals. I don't like Rashard Mendenhall, too injury prone. Carson Palmer didn't show me a lot in his time in Oakland, but he does have Larry Fitzgerald, who made it a close game, but Sam Bradford got it done at the end.
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't have Tavon Austin involved in that game plan a little more, but the other receivers stepped up. Jared Cook especially so. It seems like he's been talked up for the past couple of years as a sleeper player that could really make that leap. And he never did it with the Titans, but it looks like he is primed to do it with these St. Louis Rams folks.
Well, Jeff Fisher finally has a quarterback that can get him the ball consistently and accurately. And but speaking of one play that Jared Cook would like to have back, he had a clear shot at the end zone running right in, but Tyrann Mathieu comes out, knocks the ball out.
That's what they brought that Honey Badger in for, though. They brought him in there to make those type of plays. He's not your typical kind of safety that you're going to have in there, but it looks like so far they're using him right. I was kind of curious how that defense would look without Ray Horton, but that play told me a lot about Tyrann Mathieu and how he'll do in the NFL.
That's our look at week 1. Let's bring on Jamie Dukes for a little bit more look at week 1 and a preview at week 2. Please welcome Jamie Dukes.
All right, we're here on the Outsiders podcast with a great guest for you today, Jamie Dukes, former Florida State and Falcons offensive lineman, current NFL analyst for the NFL Network. How's it going, Jamie?
Good, great. How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing great. Can't complain. Let's get right into this Monday night game. We've got RG3. He's rusty. Chip Kelly's offense looks better than advertised. Phillip Rivers comes out on fire, but then they blow it just like the Chargers always do, and the Texans come back and win with the last-second field goal. What were your thoughts on Monday night?
That's about it. Nice talking to you guys. Thanks. No, I mean, you called it just like it was. When you look at what's interesting about let's go to the Monday night game. What's interesting about that game was this: that you took a pace, and now the landscape has changed. And I remember asking this question on our radio show today specifically: is this 15 minutes of fame for this offense, or is it going to be kind of something that passes quickly? I believe the tempo piece, because it wasn't as much about Michael Vick, because Tom Brady can run that offense. The point is, it's about tempo. That's what it's all about, is tempo, tempo, tempo. Tom Brady can get in there, fire the ball out there, because there are 3 options available pretty much with every play. So with Tom Brady running the offense, okay, there might be 2 options. Hand the ball off to the running back, or fire the ball to somebody else on the outside, because they're putting the receivers outside the hashes, outside the numbers, which opens up all of those lanes. That's what's different.
What did you think about how RG3 looked last night?
Well, I anticipated he was going to be rusty. I took a little criticism from the Washington Redskin faithful when he made the comments in training camp. He didn't feel he needed to play in preseason games. And 2 things are wrong with that. Number one, that's your second year in the league. That's one thing. And the other thing is you cannot replicate game speed. And what the mistakes that you saw him making were game speed mistakes. Let's not pay attention to the interception. The tossed football that got tossed a little long in the end zone that led to the safety. That's game adrenaline. That can't be practiced. There's nothing like the game that's going to pull that out of you, and that was the problem.
Oh, definitely. Going back to Sunday, the Saints beat your old team, the Falcons. I'm kind of sitting here wondering how they did it with that awful defense that was 32nd last year. They hold the new Falcons and Steven Jackson, their new addition, to 17 points.
Well, a lot of people don't understand. They get caught up in it. They think if you're a defense coordinator and you make, and I'm talking about Rob Ryan, the fact that he doesn't have a top 10 defense, he may have had one of those. But what he reminds me of is he's the wolf, from Pulp Fiction, the cleaner. He's the guy that comes in and fixes everywhere he goes. It's an absolute mess. And what he's able to do is make it respectable, make it competitive. That's what he does so well.
All right, Jamie, I've got a question for you about Rex Ryan. What do you think that he has to do to save his job this year? And do you think if they go 9-7, do you think that's going to save his job? Because I've got a feeling they're going to push him out the door.
Yeah, if he goes 8-8, it'll save his job, I believe. Given he's got a new quarterback that he's playing, and that will have meant that his defense is playing as advertised. And that's what he needs to do, is rebuild it where they're playing dominating defense. They don't have any weapons in the skill area as Santonio Holmes gets situated. Who is the running back? It's running back by committee. So I think that if he gets himself in a position where they get to 8-8, 9-7, somewhere in that, and they look respectable like they're building something, I think he'll get a reprieve. Not to mention the fact that I don't believe this is the last year of his contract. I think he's got one more year in his contract. So therefore, the owner, who's already going to be a little salty about paying out $8.5 million to Mark Sanchez, is not going to want to cut him a check for a year or two to walk free.
If they won 10 games, do you think that he would be in the contention for Coach of the Year, or do you think it's more than that?
As he should be.
Yeah,
if they won 9 games, he should be in contention for Coach of the Year. Given the mess that he's got up there, and what he's having to deal with, and what he's having to do, yeah, he should be Coach of the Year.
It's almost hard not to root for him, right?
Well, a lot of people don't like Rex, and they feel like he was the first coach that didn't know the rules of engagement and how to be a coach, and he was this wild card that got in there, and Rex said some things that bothered people. But I like Rex. I think he's a good guy, brilliant coach, brilliant mind.
All right, now we're going to ask you about our Kansas City Chiefs. What did you think about them against Jacksonville?
Well, Andy Reid's a great coach. There's no question about it. You got a lot of assets out there in Kansas City. Alex Smith is a very good guy, a good quarterback, good kid. He's not a guy who can carry a team, but you have the Kansas City Chiefs are the perfect place for a guy like Alex Smith. He can't carry you to a Super Bowl, but he can certainly take you into the playoffs, and he's not going to kill you. Smart guy, knows what he's doing with the football, and so I like the fit there. Not to mention the fact that the AFC is kind of wide open. When you think about, there's just not a lot of good teams in the AFC.
How much of that game would you chalk up to it being the Jacksonville Jaguars, or how much do you think that would be the Kansas City Chiefs dominating?
Yes, is the answer. Yes, all of the above. Jacksonville is pathetic. It's unfortunate. They got a lot of nice pieces down there, but their quarterback position is so bad they can't compete. And it just really makes them completely askew because they just cannot compete at the quarterback position.
You mentioned Alex Smith and how he's a good quarterback, but that he can't carry you to a Super Bowl. When are the Chiefs going to get that quarterback that can carry them to a Super Bowl, a franchise quarterback? They haven't had one since Joe Montana, but he was 36. They drafted Todd Blackledge. Seems like they're scared of the position since then.
No, it's just those guys are hard to find. That's why they're paying the money that they're having to pay to these quarterbacks. And when you get a guy, you look at the Atlanta Falcons. They're paying Matt Ryan. They signed him to he's the second or third highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. He ain't won a Super Bowl. He's got one playoff win. The Chicago Bears are going to have to pay Jay Cutler because you can't find these guys. You get somebody who's decent, and I'm not saying they're just decent. I think they're certainly above average quarterbacks. You got to stick with what you got, or you're Jacksonville. That's why when Chip Kelly came in, everybody, there's this smoke screen about people not liking Michael Vick. They don't like Michael Vick because of what he did with them dogs. To say that guy can't play quarterback is just not accurate. And so Chip Kelly, when he came in, that's why he said, hey, look, pump the brakes on getting rid of Mike Vick. Because he knew that he's never had an athlete like Michael Vick playing the position that is so important to his offense. So it was intriguing to him. But he had to play his cards right and put that little Nick Foles competition thing out there just to kind of placate the folks who don't like Michael Vick. But the facts are, that dude is a heck of a football player. Now they got an offensive line in place that's healthy, that's going to protect him.
All right, we're going to move on to week 2 now. In the first week, the Manning brothers couldn't have looked more different. 1 through 7 touchdown passes, and then the other one through 2 pick sixes. How do you think the Manning Bowl is going to go next week?
Well, that's a good question.
Which Eli Manning is going to show up?
There's your answer. Because you don't know Eli is a big game player. The bigger the stakes, that's when he really kind of shows up. And it's also going to be a battle because if the Giants defensive line, does what they're capable of doing, I think it's going to be a very interesting ball game. I think that the Denver Broncos are clearly the class of the AFC, but at the same time, they're going to have some challenges offensively, or defensively, because they're not getting pressure at times. They got pressure later on in the game once they open things up versus Joe Flacco, but I still think that they have some challenges because Vaughn is not there.
Going to the 49ers-Seahawks game, the Seahawks struggled to put up points against the Panthers defense. It's only going to get harder this week going up against San Francisco. Colin Kaepernick and Russell Wilson bet an eyebrow on the game. So who's coming out with the eyebrow and who's leaving without one?
I'm riding with San Francisco just in general. I believe that they're the class of the NFC. I think that when you look at all the pieces that they have, and it just goes back to numbers game, these numbers being number one. They have 15 first-round draft choices on that roster. 15. They got 6 second-rounders. Maybe it's 14 first-rounders and 5 second-round draft choices. That's almost 40% of your roster are either a first or a second-round draft choice. That's strong.
All right, next weekend, which team would be off in worse trouble if they start 0-2? The Vikings or the Steelers?
Oh, the Steelers, man. They'll be, yeah. Vikings don't have any Super Bowls. Steelers tradition, you know, you watch a Super Bowl and the Steelers are playing, it's a Super Bowl, it's a Steeler home game. They do whatever they have to do to get those tickets. That's how avid their fans are. And I think that you're talking about a real mutiny on your hands with that.
They might be calling for Todd Haley's head.
Yeah, because something's got to give. I know that. Because what he and Ben are doing ain't working, and it's just not a good match.
What do you think, how much of a yard marker do you think next week will be for the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Cowboys?
I don't know. I wouldn't say much of one only because Cowboys haven't made the playoffs in 3 or 4 years. So while I picked the Cowboys to win the division, I'm not exactly sure because the Cowboy team that got 6 interceptions or 6 turnovers yesterday or 6 turnovers Sunday, they only had 36 points on the board to show for it is a problem. A serious, serious problem.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to a big Chiefs win. Hopefully they can get that done. Jamie, before we let you go, we wanted to recognize the great work you do with your Put Up Your Dukes Foundation. Can you tell our fans what that is and how they can learn more about that?
Well, basically what we've done, I've had 8 teammates die from what we call the diseases of excess weight. Type 2 diabetes, heart disease. 6 of them have died from heart attacks, 1 from stroke, 1 sleep apnea related, had a heart attack, Reggie White. And what we're trying to do is focus on helping people, you know, realize that there's you know, you can enjoy yourself, but also you got to worry about your lifestyle. And lifestyle being consumption. What kind of foods to consume, what kind of foods not to consume. Things of that nature. And for more information, obviously you can log on to PUIDF.org, PUIDF.org to find out more information about all the work that we're doing in the community.
Oh, that's great work you do there, Jamie. Can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. We'll have to get back together once the season gets underway and we figure out who the contenders are and who are just pretenders.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot, man.
Yep,
Thanks a lot, Jamie. Take care.
You got it.
And we can't thank Jamie Dukes enough for coming on. Great stuff as always. That first question, I thought he might have hung up on us there for a little bit. I asked about the Monday night games, and I proceeded to answer the question a little bit, and he's like, hey, yeah, that sounds good. You got it right, so I'll catch you later.
I'll tell you, my eyes about popped out of my head. That guy is a joker.
Well, we got the Chiefs and Cowboys this Sunday. We're going to get a little bit more into that game. Tony Romo's got some hurt ribs. Des Bryant's got a sprained foot. If both of them play and are effective, I expect the Cowboys to win 27-17. How do you see it?
You know, I can very well see it going both ways. It seems like there are a lot of unknowns with this Kansas City Chiefs team, but I'm not sold on these Cowboys being a dominant team. They had 6 turnovers last week and barely squeaked out the win against the Giants.
That is very true. So the Chiefs have a chance in this one. I definitely think they do, but I just see it going the other way this week. Going on to the Thursday night game, we've got Geno Smith with an even bigger test than he had last week, going against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. I really like Geno. I think he had a great game last week, got the win. That's all that matters. But I'm going to have to go with Tom Terrific, and I think it's not even close.
Hey, Tom Brady always shows up in prime time, and we all know that. I think it's going to be a closer game than it really should be just because Tom Brady is going to have a little bit of trouble with this Jets defense that is looking a lot more improved off of last year. But, I mean, Geno Smith's going to have some growing pains on Thursday night. There's no way he's going to be able to outplay Tom Brady at Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, Belichick's going to have a few tricks up his sleeve that Geno probably hasn't seen before. Also, the Patriots lose Shane Vereen with a broken wrist, and that's really going to hurt. He had a really big game against the Buffalo Bills, so maybe you're right. Maybe it could be closer than we think. Moving on to the last Week 2 game we're going to preview, the Redskins and the Packers. The Redskins started off rusty, but they came on hot. Can they keep that carry it over to the Green Bay Packers game? Green Bay came up short, but they played one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL, with one of the hottest quarterbacks in the NFL, Colin Kaepernick, and the San Francisco 49ers. What do you see in this matchup? Should be a great one between the Redskins and Packers.
Honestly, I think it's gonna be a really great game. I think it's gonna be a really fun game to watch. But I see the Redskins starting out 0-2. But I'm not worried about them being in the playoffs because last year they started out slow and then they won a lot in the end and they made it back in there. I think once RG3 hits his stride, whether that be this game or the next week, I think that he's just going to be on a roll for the rest of the season.
I agree. I think it's just going to take him some time to get his feet under him to be confident in that knee. It didn't look like he was really planning and stepping through with that knee that he had. So some of the passes sailed high, sailed left, sailed right. Just wasn't on his game in the first half. I like the Packers in that game too, but I also see the Redskins, like you do, challenging for the division by season's end. Again, can't thank Jamie Dukes enough. Hopefully we can catch up with him later on in the season. Thank you all for listening. This has been the Outsiders Podcast with Noah Broniger and special guest host Dalton Lohman.